Yo, we're back with anatomical analogies. Not so much the analogy part with the nervous system, just because sometimes it doesn't always see fit. But in this video, we're gonna discuss the structure of the autonomic nervous system. Yeah, eat it up, eat it up. But the structure of the autonomic nervous system, there's a sympathetic portion, and then the parasympathetic portion. So let's first start with the parasympathetic portion. The nerves. The parasympathetic nerves arise from the brain or the sacral region. So the brain or the sacral region, there's actually 7 different types of nerves that can the parasympathetic region can arrive from. There's 4 cranial nerves and then 3 in the sacral region. So the 3 in the sacral region are the S2, S3, and S4, where the cranial nerves, the 4 cranial nerves, are the obviously the ones that carry parasympathetic information. So the vagus nerve, the oculomotor nerve, the facial nerve, and then the glossopharyngeal. That's what it is. So those are the 4 cranial nerves, where the 3 sacral nerves that carry information to the parasympathetic nervous system are the S2 through S4. So the parasympathetic nervous system is aka called the cranial sacral region due to the cranial nerves, the 4 cranial nerves, and then the 3 sacral nerves, totaling seven total nerves innervate or are associated with the parasympathetic nervous system. So with the parasympathetic nervous system, we discussed the preganglionic and postganglionic nerves. In the episode previous, the preganglionic nerves with the parasympathetic nervous system are long, where the postganglionic nerves of the parasympathetic nervous system are short. So parasympathetic nervous system, preganglionic neurons, long, postganglionic neurons are short. And then now with the sympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic information is carried by the thoracic region or the lumbar region. So there's 14 different pairs of nerves that carry information within or throughout the sympathetic nervous system. Those are T1 through 12, so those are the thoracic spinal nerves, T1 through 12, and then there's also lumbar nerves, L1 through L2. So that totals the 14 pairs of spinal nerves, that carry sympathetic information. So with the sympathetic nervous system, the preganglionic neurons are short, and the postganglionic neurons are long. And they're short because the postganglionic neurons are in a line outside the spinal cord. So here's the spinal cord. Here's the shorter preganglionic neuron, where the postganglionic neurons are in a line right out the spinal cord, and they form what's called a sympathetic chain. So sympathetic chain is all the cell bodies of the postganglionic neurons interconnect. So the cell body of the postganglionic neurons, they do interconnect and form the sympathetic chain, which pretty much means when one sympathetic when one nerve or whatever thoracic nerve or lumbar nerve is activated, if you will, by the sympathetic nervous system, it's going to send that nerve impulse all the way through that sympathetic chain. So if one postganglionic neuron is activated, all of the postganglionic neurons are going to be activated. So the sympathetic sympathetic chains are the interlinking of postganglionic neurons that carry sympathetic information. And benefits, obviously, one impulse goes up and down the entire chain, which means all the effectors, all the muscles or glands are stimulated as well too. So whenever we're in a fight or flight response, we need all of these to react at once. We need our heart rate to increase at once, our respiratory rate to increase at once, our pupils to dilate. All that happens pretty much instantaneously due to this sympathetic chain. So very important when we're fight or flight. Boom, the impulse stimulates one postganglionic neuron, goes up and down the whole chain. Pupils dilate, heart rate increases, respiratory rate increases, digestive functioning decreases, etc., 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 etc. And some nerves do only have one nerve to stimulate the adrenal medulla This is part of the sympathetic structure of the autonomic nervous system, or the sympathetic portion, if you will, of the structure of the autonomic nervous system. But sometimes one nerve will stimulate the adrenal medulla, which ultimately results in norepinephrine or epinephrine being released and secreted, essentially. So some nerves of the sympathetic nervous system, boom, one nerve, the preganglionic nerve, goes to the adrenal medulla, which causes epinephrine or norepinephrine to be secreted. So, but for the most part, parasympathetic portion of the autonomic nervous system, nerves do arise from the brain and sacral region. So four pairs of nerves from the brain, cranial nerves, three spinal nerves from the sacral region. So 7 pairs total, aka craniosacral region. Preganglionic neurons are going to be long, postganglionic neurons are going to be short. However, with the sympathetic nervous system, sympathetic information is carried by the thoracic and lumbar regions, the spinal nerves in those regions, so T1 through 12, and then also L1 through L2 there. So L1, L2, T1 through T12, a total of 14 pairs. And then the preganglionic neurons are very short, where the postganglionic neurons are long, and this is due to the sympathetic chain. So the chain interlinking of the cell bodies of the postganglionic neurons. So whenever one gets stimulated, they all get stimulated. So the nerve impulse goes up and down the full sympathetic chain, which allows us to pretty much react better under a stressor due to our sympathetic or fight or flight response. So if a bear's attacking to us, we need all of our sympathetic responses to happen at once, and that's the reason for the sympathetic chain. So just a few more things on all this. Obviously, just to really hone it in, drill it in, with parasympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic region of the autonomic nervous system, the preganglionic neurons are long, postganglionic neurons are short. The preganglionic neurons, we talked about this a few videos prior, but secretes acetylcholine. The acetylcholine stimulates, we haven't got to this yet, this is with the parasympathetic nervous system, stimulates the nicotine receptor on the postganglionic neuron of the parasympathetic nervous system. That nicotine receptor, which binds to the acetylcholine, which binds to the nicotine receptor, causes acetylcholine to be